Hello Self-Refactor. Today you will learn how to deploy a NestJS project, which is a framework for NodeJS, into ElasticBeanstalk. So previously we created a simple NestJS project with a Telegram layer, which was basically a simple Telegram service layer which was able to send and receive messages from Telegram. So before we proceed, if you like this kind of content, just give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can keep learning and keep improving yourself. And don't forget about it, the more you learn, the better you become and more value you can provide. Okay, so let's do this. First of all, let's go into the AWS console. Here I am in the console home from AWS. Let's go into ElasticBeanstalk. So if it's here already available for you, you can just click here. Otherwise, you can just search for ElasticBeanstalk with the search bar. So here you can see it. Okay, so now let's create a new application. I'm gonna call it npcsj Telegram bot. Okay, for the platform, I'm gonna choose NodeJS. Since NestJS is a framework for NodeJS, I'm going to configure more options in my case. Because of the project type, I like to use at least 4 GB of memory. So I'm going to scroll down. So to access this page, you must click into configure more options. And then you scroll to the capacity section, capacity, click to edit. And then you select the machine type. In this case, I'm going to use a T3.micro, which is the latest version of the burstable machines from AWS. Oh, sorry, I should use T3 small. In this case, which is the latest version from the burstable machines from AWS, and it has 4 GB of memory. If you want to see the specifications, I like to do AWS pricing. So you can go to the pricing calculator from AWS and then you can see the specifications for the machines and how much it's going to cost to you. So if you click, for example, EC2, and then we select the T3, which is the machine that I picked on the ElasticBeanstalk console, I'm going to search by instance name and then I say T3.small. You will see, oh, sorry, in my case, this is 2 GB. So I should have used the T3 medium, actually, not the T3 small. So if you want to proceed with that machine, it's going to cost you $22 per month, or it's going to cost you 4 cents on demand mode, which is basically you're not reserving the machine for 1 year or 3 years. If you just pick the machine, you're going to pay 4 cents per hour, or 2 cents if you reserve the machine for 1 year. So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna select the T3.medium because I want a 4 GB machine. Actually, you can test this depending on your project. You might need more or you might need less. So it depends on your project. In my case, I'm gonna select a 4 GB machine, which is in this case a T3 medium machine, can serve me really well. So since I did this, I'm gonna click on save. Perfect. If you want to connect to the machine using SSH, then you can go into the security layer, edit, and then you have to create an EC2 key pair. For example, go into the EC2 console, and then you go into the key pair section, and then you create a new key pair. But this is a topic for another video. So let's go back here and click to cancel. So since I already configured the machine type, which is the T3 that I want, and then if you want, you can also try to do the free tier, which is going to be a T2 micro in your case, and then you could try to deploy your code. If not, then probably you have to increase the machine capacity. And then we scroll down and click to create app. Okay, perfect. This is gonna take a few minutes, and once it's done, let's go back to it. Great, I need to say some extra few things. First of all, to run the project, you must add this environment variable, which is the process.env.port. this port environment variable. This environment variable is going to be injected by ElasticBeanstalk, which is the port number where your application is going to listen from the machine. And this is going to be provided by ElasticBeanstalk. Besides this, in my case, I also created two extra environment variables. The first environment variable is going to be the Telegram token, and another environment variable is going to be the chat ID. So because I configured that whenever this class gets instantiated, it's going to send a testing message to this chat ID on Telegram. So to make it work properly, I need to configure these environment variables. Depending on your project, it might need more, it might need less, it depends on the case. So but if you watched my previous video, then you need to make these extra changes and add these environment variables. Or you can put directly on the code the string, but it's not recommended for security reasons. Okay, great. Now that the initial setup for ElasticBeanstalk is complete, if you want to click on this link, you will see the initial deployment created by ElasticBeanstalk, which is basically a simple application deployed by ElasticBeanstalk to set up the project. So in my case, I need to add the two extra environment variables that I created. So I can do this by clicking here on the left side on the configuration, and then I click on the edit. Then I scroll down, and then I see this section, environment properties. So first of all, I'm gonna add my Telegram token. The name is Telegram token, and the value is my Telegram token value. The next one is the test chat ID, which is the chat ID that the Telegram service uses to send a message whenever the class gets instantiated. I'm gonna copy the name and paste it here. And then here I'm gonna pass the chat ID. So this really depends on your project. This is for my case. And then I'm gonna click on apply. Okay, great. Now I'm gonna go back to the code and make some extra changes to make the code to be deployed successfully on ElasticBeanstalk. So let's go back to the code. Here I'm gonna create a folder called ebextensions. .ebextensions. Whenever we want to extend the configuration for ElasticBeanstalk, we need to create files within this folder. So the first one that I'm gonna create, I'm gonna call it install global npm packages .config. So what we're doing here, we're going to install on the machine two npm packages. The first one is going to be Yarn, because I've been using Yarn to configure the project. So here you can see that I have a yarn.doc, which means that my packages were configured using Yarn. So this first command is responsible to, first of all, to install Yarn, and then to test whether Yarn was properly installed on the machine, which is going to run the code. The second command, I'm gonna install globally NestJS CLI on the machine. So we can run some commands here without no issues, because when we do, for example, yarn start or a yarn build, you will see that the command has some NestJS CLI commands. So I need to install globally on the machine Yarn and then NestJS CLI. Okay, great. This is the first command, which is going to install on the machine. Second, we need to inject some commands inside the project directly. So this is called container commands. I'm gonna attach some links on the video so you can see the difference between the commands and container commands. Basically, the commands are the ones that we do for configuring the machine as a whole, and the container commands are the commands that we do for configuring specifically the project. So now I need to create a container commands to install the dependencies and to build the TypeScript code to be executed on the machine. I'm gonna create a file called post actions dot config. Okay, great. So here I'm gonna create this basic container command, which is install app with yarn. So we need to pass this container commands column, and then this can be whatever you want, and then we pass a command, and then we pass a string to do what needs to be done in the project. In my case, I'm calling yarn to install the dependencies, creating the node modules folder, and then I'm gonna call yarn build to build the TypeScript and then to generate the JavaScript to be executed. Okay, great. Now that we have the command for the machine, and then we have the container commands for the project, I'm gonna create another file to zip the whole content. I'm gonna create a folder called scripts, and here I'm gonna create a simple bash script which is responsible to zip the project, and then I'm gonna deploy the zip file into ElasticBeanstalk. I'm gonna call it zip code.sh. Okay, so and the content will be, so here we have a basic shell script file. So here this is the first line for every shell script file. And then since we are on a subfolder, on a subdirectory, I'm going back to the root folder for the project, and then I run the zip command, zip -r for recursive to zip the whole project. I'm gonna call the final file NestJS _telegram _bot.zip. The dot means that I want to do it for all the files in the root directory, and then I'm going to exclude the node modules folder and the dist folder. These two will be created inside the ElasticBeanstalk machine. Okay, great. So here on the terminal, I'm gonna go into the scripts folder. I'm gonna change the permissions for this file. I'm gonna do chmod 777, and then I'm gonna pass the zip code. Okay, perfect. Now we can run this shell script file, the terminal, /zipcode. Perfect. Let me refresh the page. Now we have this file. So this is the file that we should send to ElasticBeanstalk. Let's go back to ElasticBeanstalk. Okay, great. So here on the ElasticBeanstalk project, let's click on upload and deploy. Then we choose the zip file, and then in my case this is the zip file that I just created a few minutes ago, and then click to upload, and then click to deploy. So one thing to keep in mind, if you want to see the health check working properly, you need to return 200 from for the health check path. By default is the root path for the project, which in our case is going to be this function here, get hello, which is basically the slash, which is the base path for the project, which is going to call this function, which is going to return hello world, and a status is going to be 200. So if your application returns 200 for the health check route, then ElasticBeanstalk will say that your application is healthy. Great. So after a few minutes, the deployment is complete and the application is healthy. So if we click here on the link, you will see the hello world message, which was sent by our application, which is this message here. And if you remember well, in our Telegram service layer, we configure that whenever this class gets instantiated, it's gonna send a message to the chat on Telegram, which is my chat in this case. So if you go to the Telegram, you will see that I received this message from the code, which means that the code was successfully deployed on ElasticBeanstalk. So that's it. On this video, you'll learn how to deploy a NestJS project on ElasticBeanstalk. If you like this kind of content, just give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget about it, the more you learn, the better you become and more value you can provide. I hope you liked it, and I see you in next time.